Ladies and gentlemen, very warm welcome to our first Adda in Pune. Thank you all for being here. We're trying to break this imperialistic Bombay-Mumbai Adda sort of a thing and moving beyond Bombay and Delhi. So that's why we're here. Thank you so much. What a phenomenal crowd. Thank you all for waiting. We have a guest who needs no introduction, but he's a guest who makes me feel very proud because he's from my neck of the woods, South Bombay. And from my neck of the woods, we don't see a lot of successful politicians. So it's quite a rare accomplishment for us. What I hear from his professors at Harvard is that before they could complete the question, he would have the answer ready. So I think my job is going to be fairly easy. But I'm joined here with my colleague, our opinions editor, Vandita Mishra. And just a quick few points about Piyush before we get started. He's been a BJP loyalist for many years. I remember distinctly once at a YPO event in Bombay. This was at a time when the BJP was in a similar situation that the Congress is in today. There was Ram Guha's book launch, and Piyush Goyal was so valiantly defending the BJP through this entire conversation. And it was very unfashionable to do so then. So I think his passion for politics has been there for many years and for the BJP. His father was a shipping minister. And I have it on a personal side, pretty good authority, that his parents tried very hard to get him to play a sport competitively, to play an instrument seriously, but I believe the only thing he really excelled at was scorekeeping. He studied law and CA at the same time and graduated second in law from Mumbai University and second all India in his CA exams as well. So he's always been a multitasker. Over the last 2 years, he's got credit for LED distribution, solar power for Uday, and my personal favorite for Coal India. It was a company that I think many analysts wrote off 5-7 years ago. So, Piyush, very warm welcome to Adda.
Thank you very much. It's been a delightful surprise to have you here today. I didn't know that you will be coming in to Pune especially for this. Thank you. The family has been, the Goenka family has been somebody whom I've looked up to since my childhood. Sorry for the throat, but too many speaking engagements in the last 3 or 4 days. I still remember very, very fondly the days when I used to go with my father, late father, to Ramnath Goenkaji's penthouse at the top of Indian Express Towers at Nariman Point. These were the days soon after the emergency when, if at all, there was one media house and one tall personality from the media world who was willing to stand up for principles. It was the late Ramnath Goenka, somebody whom I had the privilege of meeting very often, talking to, hearing his feisty comments on several issues of importance, particularly on political corruption. And to my mind, since the current issue, and I'm sure both Vandita and Anant will not be letting Adda go without discussing the cancellation of 500 and 1,000 rupee notes as legal tender. I'm quite sure the late Ramnath Goenkaji would be extremely delighted and proud of this decision. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Thanks for being here. I think, let's just start with the subject that you raised because we spent some time here with the audience and I think everybody was, the question, every conversation was starting with demonetization. So, so right off the bat, Piyush, you have been in Parliament making very strong defenses of the action. Firstly, did you expect it would be so controversial so many days beyond the announcement?
No, the controversy is only there amongst a few people. First of all, I was not defending. I was on the offensive. So just let me set the record straight. I mean, if somebody may choose to call it organized loot, it doesn't mean that he becomes on the offensive. In fact, I've been wondering ever since then whether 186,000 crores lost by the people of India in the Colgate scam or 176,000 crores, they were always in competition. Lost in the 2G scam or the Augusta Westland, the other scam, the Commonwealth scam, Devas antics, we can go on and on. As a chartered accountant, I failed to put a number to collect all the statistics and get a final number. But if that was not organized loot, I don't know what organized loot is. So therefore, I was very much on the offensive. It's the people who are trying to defend their position. And I don't think giving a slogan can be adequate defense. Prime Minister Modi has brought this decision with great deal of thought, with a commitment to cleanse Indian society from the problems of black marketing, black money, corruption, from the dangers of counterfeit notes, fake currency, which fuels terrorism and drug cartels. And to my mind, the people of India have blessed and supported this move. And that ultimately is the people for whom this government is working. And we feel very, very redeemed by the support we have got all over India. The pain was to be there for 50 days. On the day of announcement itself, the Prime Minister had said, give me 50 days, give me time until 30th December. There is a whole process. It's probably the largest action taken in history of mankind. And such a large action will obviously have concurrent or collateral issues to sort out. I'm quite confident that the way the things are moving, we are on the right track and we will come back to normalcy very soon.
So, but Piyushji, when do we know how successful the move has been? What is that one metric that will be available to the public to say, this worked?
Well, it will be a matrix which will have different elements. First of all, one of the biggest impacts that we hope this move to have will be on the mindset of people. The chalta hai approach has to change someday. And old habits die hard, so I cannot expect that tomorrow the whole world will become clean and everybody will run their business honestly. But it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for a nation as large as India to think differently, to try and leave behind a legacy for the youth of India, which is different from the one we inherited. And to my mind, the time is ripe. The youth of India is aspiring for a society free of corruption, for a society where we don't have typically transactions necessarily having a number one and a number two component or a white and black component. We would like the color of currency to be one. We would like the transactions to be in one currency, one legal format. And I'm quite confident that increased taxes will be one yardstick. The amount of money that never gets deposited in the bank. Another very funny argument being made is that the honest people have to stand in a queue and suffer, whereas the dishonest are sitting at home. Obviously, it's the honest people who will have the courage to go to the bank and deposit their hard-earned, honest money. The dishonest are sitting at home and crying or standing in parliament and opposing this move. So I don't think the people, the honest people, are not willing to take this little pain. Because for the first time, an honest man who's paid his taxes honestly is finding a premium to honesty. Sure. Is finding कि ईमानदार का सम्मान हुआ है और बेईमान घर बैठे अपना नुकसान गिन रहा है.
But are you expecting some drop in the growth of GDP rate, for instance? I mean, there will be some notional.
Very true that in the short run, there will be a drop. I'll tell you some of the things which amazed us the most when people ask me what is the unexpected thing that happened. The biggest unexpected thing to me was that two-wheeler and car sales have dropped. Now, I can't for the life of me imagine that cars and two-wheelers were also being sold in cash or were being sold with money, illegitimate money. That's the one thing which is evident. You're paying to a authorized dealer. I never imagined that two-wheeler sales are also done in black money. Now that falling, the sales of that falling, is something which will cause a short-term pain. But if we can move towards an economy where everybody starts buying these two-wheelers and three-wheelers, and it's not as if people will stop buying it. People will change their habit and start buying it with honest money. That's the change we are trying to bring about. There is a pain for a few months that till the economy gets revived, maybe 1 quarter, maybe 2 quarters. But I think for the long-term gain that we can very clearly see, be it lower inflation, lower interest rates, be it improved investment climate, a lot of international foreign funds would love to come to a country where business is done honestly. So the change that we want to see in India will be evident from the way all of us live and work.
You might not want to share a number with us, but is there a number out there? Is there a number, a target to say so much money in Jandan or so much money RBI recollected?
That's another thing that's been discussed in Parliament. 2 things I'd like to point out about what happened in the Parliament proceedings. Illustrious leader of the opposition, deputy leader of the Congress in the Parliament, spoke before me in the Rajya Sabha. And he alluded to one answer that finance minister had given earlier in this year or last year, where the question was, how much fake currency is there in the system? And obviously government can only give details of what fake currency has been detected or impounded or discovered or found out through investigation. And obviously that number was quite a small number, 0.2% or something. So the illustrious leader tried to say that only for 0.2% fake currency, you caused the whole country distress. Now that's the fake currency that got caught. I don't know how much more there is, because if I knew, I would have caught it. Unless he knows better about how much there is. That only he can answer. Similarly, how much black money is there? I think the former Prime Minister and his party colleagues would be better advised and may have more information about how much black money is there out there. I certainly don't know. But once the scheme ends, we'll certainly have an idea of how much increased taxes we get out of this scheme, or how much money never gets deposited back in the account. Because all the honest money we expect to come into the banking system, the dishonest money will have to go elsewhere.
Mr. Goel, the Prime Minister has put you on a 2-member ministerial committee along with Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad to see the transition to a cashless economy?
No such announcement. Is there something like that? I'm not aware of it.
Okay. So, in fact, it has been reported.
I think all the ministers of the government of India, including me, we all believe that this is that one moment in history that we have in India. It's a golden opportunity to move towards a cashless society. Now, of course, political opponents will say, but how can there be a cashless society? These are aspirational goals. When you talk of cashless society, you're talking of moving towards a near cashless society. All the ministers, and we've discussed it collectively amongst ourselves, we believe that such an opportunity will never come again. There is a time where there is pain in the system. People are stressed for want of change. And at this time, and we are seeing traction in usage of digital mode of payment by as high as 300 and 400% in the system. Now, currently in India, we have about 71 crore debit cards. 71 crore, 710 million. Another 226 million credit cards. Now, this is a huge universe. But what are these used for? Over 450 million of them are used only to draw cash from an ATM. Hardly 45-50 million are used for transacting through that debit card. Now, it's an unfortunate situation. Transacting through cash, drawing cash, the printing of currency, movement of notes, then collecting back in the bank, dispensing it through ATM or counters. This whole process, for every transaction, costs between 55 and 70 rupees per transaction. So if you see the nation as a whole, there is a potential 20,000 crore plus saving if we are able to convert a large part of our transactions to digital. Similarly, in terms of safety and security, there's so much more safety and security if we stop keeping large amounts of cash and going digital. And lastly, honest payment of taxes. And in a society where traders, businessmen, industrialists, everybody has equal opportunity. So your ability to succeed in a competitive world is not determined by how much tax you skim or evade, but is determined by your service quality, your product quality. I think that's the kind of society digital payments can bring about. And that's what we are all working together to achieve.
But Mr. Goyal, one of the hurdles will be political finance. You've been the national treasurer for the BJP. What do you see, I mean, what are the norms of transparency and disclosure? And more than that, what is the model of political finance that you think India should be moving to minimize this problem?
You know, when Finance Minister Mr. Jaitley was the law minister in the NDA-1 government, 12 years ago, or 13 years ago, he had brought in an amendment to the Income Tax Act and to the Companies Act, by which he had allowed corporates also to give political donations by check officially, up to about 5% of their average net profit of previous 3 years to any political party, directly or through the electoral trusts, provided it was an Indian company, held largely by Indians. Going further, and by the way, every rupee that you donate by check gives you 100% tax deduction. So effectively, if I'm paying 100 rupees as a donation, the government is paying 33 rupees, I'm only paying 66 rupees. In the last session of Parliament, we even liberalized that further, recognizing that now we have a large foreign investment in many companies. So we said any Indian company, as long as it is registered in India and principally does business in India, can donate. And to simplify the calculation, we've said up to 7.5% of their net profit after tax, average of last 3 years. Now, to my mind, every conscientious citizen, and by the way, individuals can give unlimited amount and they get 100% tax deduction also. If conscientious citizens, corporates, companies, business persons understand that a good political system, a good political leader and a good political party is good for our lives. After all, corruption and including political corruption has to end. But elections are also a reality. So election financing will be required. But if corporate India, the citizens of India, start accepting that it could be our responsibility also to clean up public life, to clean up politics, then I think all political parties, I hope, after their opposition to this cancellation of old notes, I don't know if they will agree with us or no, but at least the Bharatiya Janata Party and its supporting NDA allies, all of us appeal to corporate India and the citizens of India to donate liberally, to participate in cleansing public life and helping politicians and political parties give good governance to India. And I think it's eminently doable if all of us work together, if media houses such as yours and other important elements of society, if everybody gets together to make it happen. To my mind, it's very, very much doable.
Mr. Goyal, you mentioned the opposition several times. Now, generally, the opposition has not actually questioned the end goal, the objective of moving to a cashless economy or having less black money around. But what has been questioned is the lack of preparation, the lack of planning, and also some serious questions have been raised about whether this kind of shock therapy was needed in a country like India. The argument has been made that India did not have as dysfunctional systems as, let's say, Zimbabwe or Soviet Union or North Korea, which are the countries that have so far done such a thing. So these were countries which were dealing with hyperinflation. They also were countries which had dictators at the helm. So how would you respond to that?
Well, at the outset, I'm referring to the opposition only because we are quite amazed. We had actually thought, looking at the public support across this country and across sections of society, we had assumed that all political parties will also welcome this. And obviously, from day one, we are very clear that to maintain secrecy of this important move, there was an inadequate ability to prepare. There's no way we could have sorted out all the preparations because then it would have leaked out. And once leaked out, it would have really had no impact.
Can you give us a figure of how many people knew it in government?
I wouldn't know. Certainly it came as a shocker to me as much as to all our cabinet colleagues, except the finance minister. But other than that, I don't know who all. Obviously, the Reserve Bank governor must have known. And the decision was taken by the Reserve Bank of India board, much as some opposition leaders tried to suggest otherwise. I can reassure all of you that proper due process legally was followed, has to be followed. And with Mr. Arun Jaitley there, I think that's one thing we can all be very sure of. So Reserve Bank board met, they decided, they gave that decision to the cabinet met, decided, and then the Prime Minister went to meet the President of India and the announcement was made. But having said that, to keep secrecy, there was bound to be some pain. Very easy to say you could have printed more notes and stuff like that. Super smart chartered accountants like me would have cracked it immediately. I mean, I'm not calling myself super smart, I'm calling the community super smart. And of course, the business community is even smarter still. They would have caught on to it like this and forget all of that. Imagine keeping a thing secret from the media? Geez, that's the most difficult. So I tell you a small secret, and it's exclusive for the Adda, for Indian Express. If you recall, in 2014, when the cabinet was announced, there was lots of speculation in the system, but nobody got it right. And always we've had cabinets fairly being leaked out in the past. Of course, it's another matter that at one point of time, media personalities used to decide who will get what cabinet worth, whether you will be appointed a cabinet minister or no. I will make you get the department so that you can do a big scam. All those things used to be there in the past. This time, not a single person could know the cabinet. And you know, the trick to that, no typed list was ever made. Whatever consultations had to happen, happened, but the power was with one leader, one man. Nobody could dictate to him whether a media journalist or a corporate bigwig or an extra constitutional authority what has to be done. And the list was written down by hand so that nobody can leak. So Prime Minister Modi has again and again demonstrated tremendous ability to keep state secrets, official secrets, which have to be kept within a closed loop. And the shock therapy was absolutely essential. Sad part is, there's a section of politicians, and I'm saying politicians because in society we have got universal acclaim. A few media people, and some of the media people are opinionated beyond repair. I mean, they don't give news, they only give views. But that's a matter of fact. We've seen it happen for the last 12, 13 years, particularly about Mr. Modi. But the fact of life is that these few politicians who are trying to benchmark India to Zimbabwe or any other countries are forgetting that this country and the youth of India, this billion plus people of India, are aspiring to benchmark our country, not with Zimbabwe or any of those, but to benchmark us with the best in the world. We'll benchmark ourselves with Europe, we'll benchmark ourselves with USA, we'll benchmark ourselves with growth, with prosperity, with good governance, corruption-free governments. That's what we want to be.
No, Mr. Goyal, their argument is precisely this, that India is not Zimbabwe, so perhaps it did not need this kind of shock therapy.
Yeah, obviously, a few 100 lakh crores or few lakh crores of losses in scams may not be that big for them, I think for the people, does any of you believe that Colgate loss of 1,86,000 crore, 2G loss of 1,76,000 crores is acceptable? We should allow it to happen. Does anybody in this room agree with that? I'll ask you to raise your hand. So where is this logic that India was not that bad? I think it was pathetic. It was the pits to have such large scams and government trying to say it was compulsion of coalition politics. And we had to allow the scam to happen. I think Indian Express never supported any such massive or colossal scam. So I think the people of India believe that political corruption, bureaucratic corruption, black marketing, terrorism, the use of black money in day-to-day business and life has to end. The people voted Mr. Modi so that he could end it. They gave him an absolute majority so that he could take decisive action, and that's exactly what he has done.
It certainly was a surprise to everybody. And I'm sure that evening every newsroom was just, not figuring out how to handle the economics of it. But, this topic, everybody is so curious about it. So I think if we can, a little prematurely, Vandita, we'll just open it up a little bit. And if anybody has a specific question on demonetization, I think it would be a good time to talk about it now, then we can move on to other issues. Sure, please. If you just please introduce yourself. Just one second, with the mic, please. Yeah, just introduce yourself.
Ek number.
Hello.
So please try and keep the question a little short. I'm seeing your pen and paper in your hands.
My simple question, we have demonetized 500 rupees and 1,000 rupees. Now in neighboring countries, they are using this currency rupee. Particularly in 2 countries, that they are rupee using. Now because of this, they have also cancelled their currency. And China has agreed to help them on this issue. How we are going to tackle that particular issue of the neighboring countries who are going to have problems of this currency?
No, it's a very, very good question. We are seized of the matter, and I think at the diplomatic level, this is being discussed, how it will be sorted out. But please do appreciate that Indian currency was being used, but not as legal currency. They have their own legal currency. This was being used maybe out of practice or out of habit. Now, because they were using it over there, we cannot stop a measure to save our country from black money and corruption and terror financing. Also, a large part of the fake currency that came into India came from these neighboring countries. So we have to be very careful when we allow that currency to come into India, even if it is within the limits of 25,000 that is allowed for Indians who go out of the country to carry. So we'll tackle that very carefully. Now, if those countries choose to go to another neighboring country, instead of using Indian rupees, I think we'll leave that for the diplomatic channels to handle. That's not a subject to be discussed in the public.
But that's a huge challenge being posed by China now. Where is the global...
I can reassure you, India is in safe hands, and we'll not let that create a problem. I think the world is also recognizing that.
Piyush, his question was outside of India, but what if, a state in India takes a similar view like West Bengal?
मुझे लगता है चोट बहुत गहरी पहुंची है.
Atul, please. Atul Churadia. Piyush, Atul Churadia, he's possibly the only Indian businessman who was featured in the front page of New York Times before featured on the front page of any Indian newspaper. So.
And he has some friends in high places.
That was not the agenda to go there anyway.
By the way, the high places, I was not alluding to Maharashtra politicians, I was talking to international politicians.
Okay, my question is very simple. Like we've been talking about black money and all. Actually, can you give some light how this will curb terrorism? I just want you to say something on this because I've not heard anyone talking on this particular subject.
See, if one looks at one of the problems that India has faced, it's been that these notes had almost been mastered in terms of its printing ability, except maybe the intaglio ink. But in the routine course, a normal shopkeeper or a farmer or a local person could not distinguish between a fake note and a genuine note. And because of that, we have all been hearing stories about how large amounts of money were being distributed in the border regions to the local people there to get their support. And then that money was coming into the Indian system and in some sense corrupting the entire system or the confidence in the currency that was being used in the whole country. At one point, this has completely crushed whatever notes or money was lying, either with the Maoists or with the terrorists, both in and outside the country. In fact, the Prime Minister is going to come out with more official data at some point. But in all the Naxal and Maoist belt, activities have come to a grinding halt ever since this was announced. So all that whole belt, the police is reporting, and the armed forces which are deployed there, or the Central Reserve Forces, are reporting that they are completely flustered. And they're trying to find ways and means to try and change those notes. And we as government are making sure that we don't allow them to do that. Similarly, in the border areas, the activity has significantly stopped. There has been a very unfortunate incident. But that infiltration which was happening, and which often used to be on the back of fake currency, has reduced in the last 10 or 12 days. Thirdly, the economic confidence, the confidence of the economy on the currency, will also get strengthened with the killing of 500 and 1,000 rupee notes which are in circulation, which included large amounts of fake currency. We'll of course only come to know by the final figures that never get into the banking system, but that could include both black money and fake currency. To my mind, this is a message. It's a strong message to people across the border and at the border that these type of activities using fake currency are in our radar. We've killed whatever stock was there with them, and now more stringent measures so that a fresh flow does not start will be the government's agenda in the future.
You know, we can't guess a number right now, the actual amount of fake currency that came from across the border, but you said 0.4% was one sort of number that we're talking about. That has been caught. So
how much is there, we don't know.
1%, 5%. I mean, what is the range we're talking about?
Looking for a headline?
Every day, right? We keep trying.
Mr. Goyal, a few months down the line, you're going to have the GST, hopefully. So that's also another big reform, but it is also another big disruption. How do you think you're going to manage? What special stimuli will you need to protect growth at a time when you've got demonetization, followed closely by the GST?
Vandita ji, if at all one looks at the GST and the framework of GST, it could never have been successful if we had allowed a parallel currency and a parallel trade at the levels reported in India to continue and flourish. It is important that everybody pays their taxes honestly so that the value chain does not get disrupted. And it's also equally important that if we can create a level playing field where everybody pays the same taxes, then the tax rates can also come down. After all, it's like power theft. If 5 or 7 people indulge in power theft, the rest of the 93 or 95 have to pay for it. Somebody has to pay for the system. So if government has a certain revenue requirement, and they have to also fulfill the needs of the states in case there's any shortage, particularly in the manufacturing states, obviously we can't keep on increasing the tax rates. We'll have to look at better tax compliance. So GST actually will be successful after this move, far better than it would have been without this move. Because GST is on the bedrock of honest business. And this is the step we have taken to bring about a more honest and equitably equal opportunity for everybody to be able to do an honest business. To my mind, GST, after this move, will also have certain initial teething troubles. But GST is not something which has to be kept secret and we can't plan for it. So we'll obviously do much better planning for the GST framework. We have large teams already working on the network, the GSTN, which will run the whole GST story. And Lastly, given that we expect to get good tax collection or money which never comes back into the system due to this monetization, my own sense is it will help the government give a stimuli to the economy, will help government to look at measures to improve health facilities, education, welfare, public welfare activities of the poor, of the Adivasis, tribals, the deprived sections of society, all of which will help India go towards a more inclusively prosperous society.
How do you see this playing out in UP?
Well, I think my esteemed colleague Naresh Agarwal let the cat out of the bag when he said that this move has been done keeping UP elections in mind. And I asked him, have you already given up? Ghutne take diye kya apne abhi se? If you are saying that it's a bad move, then you should be happy. If you are saying that it's done looking at UP elections, where we are the front runner to form a government, then obviously you accept the fact that the people of India are happy with this.
So what about the neighboring state, Bihar? We've seen that Mr. Nitish Kumar has taken very adversarial positions vis-a-vis Mr. Modi, but suddenly, tomorrow there is an opposition bandh, an agitation, and Nitish Kumar is not part of that. What is this about?
Well, we are grateful to Nitish Kumarji for not joining this absolutely unethical bandh. As the Prime Minister, I think, said earlier in the day, people have to choose whether they want to be on the side of corruption and black money and participate in the bandh or be with the changing India. I'm glad that Nitish Kumarji has realized that the people of India support this very good move to change the way people and business worked in India, change the habits of people, change the mindset of people. And he has opposed this bandh. He has shown that he is able to take a decision which may not be politically palatable, but which is in the interests of the people of India.
That's a very correct answer. But in the spirit of Adda, why don't you share with us? Is this a precursor to some kind of coming together of the JDU and the BJP?
I think that is best asked of Nitish ji. But
from the BJP side,
I have always wondered that that must be one marriage which must be very rocky.
Do you see it happening in the near future?
Well, we are opposed to triple talaq. But an honorable divorce, if the situation so desires, is permitted in the Constitution of India.
Piyush, I think there's a lot of curiosity about the way Modi ji functions, and you brought him up so many times in the last 15, 20 minutes. The word on the street is, he holds his cards very close to his chest, as we saw with demonetisation. He works directly with bureaucrats. You're one of the few ministers who's known to have so much of autonomy and he has so much of trust in. Is that quite the case? Is he as guarded as we all seem to believe?
Well, I'm saying it on record and with full authority that he is probably the most uninterfering leader that I have worked with. In the last 2.5 years, cabinet meetings, so many other review meetings, so many other engagements, he has never micromanaged or told me you have to do things like this, you have to do things like that. He's available. Any minister of the government of India, we have some 80 of us now, can pick up the phone, call him up, take time and go and meet him. He's happy to discuss. And I tell you, some of you may have met him, and you certainly have, Anand. He's an outstanding listener. He can sit through 4 hours of presentations without saying a word. And he absorbs whatever is being presented without taking notes. I'm one of those who has a diary 24/7. I sleep with it right on my bedside. Because if I get a good idea, I want to jot it down. He remembers things. And he remembers things. Recently, my wife knows, he called me up and told me in the manifesto you had said this. He was referring to some conversation I had when the manifesto was being made. So he remembers whatever transpires, elephant memory, and ability to come up with an out-of-the-box suggestion. For example, let me tell you about solar. I was telling him that, my system of solar expansion is going well. But I'm very stressed with the high cost of transmission lines. Because that same transmission line transmits 1/4 the power, which it would otherwise have done with coal-based thermal plants. I'd barely completed, he came up with 2 propositions, and I couldn't argue on both. One, he said that's a one-time cost, but the benefit is for lifetime. Because solar power, you are creating energy security for your country, you are going renewable, you're cleaning the environment, addressing climate change, and getting power at a fixed price for 25 years without escalation. Second, he said, why don't you look at solar and wind hybrids so that that same transmission line in the day does solar and in the monsoon and evenings, which is when wind power comes in, it can transmit wind. Out of the box, 2 ideas straight away. Pat, he didn't think too much before saying that. So he's a person with whom I have enjoyed. I've learned a lot. I remember once when I had gone to meet him to discuss the coal block auctions. So I had prepared the framework in which I was going to do the auctions to save the country lakhs and lakhs of crores of potential revenue which we would otherwise have lost. And after I had explained to him my whole scheme of things, I'll share 2 things that happened in that. And my wife often laughs on this one also. I was explaining to him, this is my timetable, and it'll take me 90 days from the day I open the tender to completion, by the time I'll give out the mine. He said, 90 din kyun lagne chahiye? I'm sorry, I have a bad throat today. 90 din kyun lagne chahiye? I said, it's a very complicated procedure. I have to be very careful. I have to make sure transparency is very good. Honesty has to be maintained and blah, blah, blah. He says, अच्छा, तो अगर 30 दिन में करोगे तो dishonest हो जाएगा और 90 दिन में करोगे तो honest हो जाएगा. So his messaging is very subtle. He's a man in a hurry to reach out benefits to the people, in a hurry to see a prosperous India. So in that sense, he wants all of us to really move the needle, excel, do better than what we thought we can do. And a second example, which is very interesting, I'm sorry, I'll take a minute more. I'd once gone to report to him what was happening on the auction, somewhere around end of 2014. I was reporting to him what had happened and what we were doing. We finished the conversation. It was at his residence. I just started to get up. No, it was around March of 2015. He had launched the LED program on 5th of January 2015. This was around March when the last few mines were getting auctioned. So I was telling him, itna ho gaya, itna is tarikh ko hoga, itna potential revenue aa gaya hai, वगैरह वगैरह. I was just getting up, he says, LED bulb kitne nikal gaye? I was unprepared. I had gone to discuss coal block auctions. I said, I'll check up and I'll get back to you. And that was one of the most important words of wisdom that I got. He said, Piyush, projects ऐसे नहीं लगते हैं. कार्यक्रम योजनाएं ऐसे सफल नहीं होती हैं. जब तक आप इस पे पूरी निगरानी नहीं रखोगे, unless you monitor your program well, you'll never be able to hold anybody accountable. And if you don't hold people accountable, you'll never succeed in your work. And that's the day I learned the importance of accountability, of monitoring your programs. We soon came out with that app on LED bulbs. Now I can tell you the figure, the number of LED bulbs that company, the government company has sold. I think... so Dr. Mashikar has probably opened it out on his iPad. 10 minutes ago. So current figure may be different. Unless Sunday the sales are usually less. So it's a lesson which, despite my 30 years in the business world, despite all my so-called knowledge or experience, while I was working in government, I'd probably not done my job very well. So small nuggets of training is available for all the ministers. It's nothing exclusive to me.
Mr. Goyal just mentioned that you keep your diary with you even when you sleep. I have a question on your sleep. Are you sleeping enough nowadays? Because you mentioned in public recently that about the Prime Minister, it used to be said, na khaunga, na khane dunga. So you said it should be said, na sounga, na sone dunga.
As I said, he's in a hurry. He wants achievement. He's looking for results. There's so much to be done. There's so much and more to be done. And I think this is not the time for a person like me to calculate the hours of sleep. It's a time for me to perform. It's a time for me to deliver. It's a time that the people of India have given me. And I don't think this kind of an opportunity I will ever get again in my life. So I wish I can come up at least a little bit to the people's expectations. So I don't think my wife or my children grudge me the lack of sleep. They encourage me to sleep less and work more.
So I think we'll ask one last question if we open up to the audience. Trump is really the question in one word, but we're all very surprised. A lot of people are very surprised. How does the government feel about such an unexpected precedent?
Well, it's a sovereign right of the people of the United States to select their leader. And unlike that country, which had made it their passion to interfere in India's political affairs, we don't interfere in their political affairs.
But were you surprised? Would you at least agree to that from a personal perspective?
I wasn't surprised. I wasn't surprised. I think the people of the United States were looking for change. They were looking for somebody who could revive businesses in America. Somebody who may not have been a very good speaker, but at least promised a world where America would be great again. And every country has a right to desire to be great. But whether he wins or somebody else wins, I believe as a responsible minister of the government of India, I have no right to decide or to interfere in their affairs. If they choose X or Y as their leader, India has to work with that leader. India has to protect India's interests. And that's what we are out there to do.
Do you feel that the world overall is getting more isolationistic? I mean, both Hillary Clinton's and Trump's messages were very isolationist.
There are some countries which preach differently and practice differently. We in India are very clear about it. We believe that we are an important element in the globalized world, but we also believe that India has to protect its own interests. We believe in Swadeshi. We believe that we have to be a self-reliant economy. We believe that India has to be energy secure. India has to be independent in its foreign policy. India has to be independent in its economic policy. We believe India has to protect first the needs, requirements and aspirations of the people of India. And we will not let any foreign power dictate India for its interests and the people's interests. Having said that, I believe every country in the world would be thinking the same way. And each one, while protecting his or her nation's own interests, also understands that in this globalized environment, we have to deal with other countries, but we'll deal with other countries on the principle of reciprocity, on a principle of self-respect, on a principle of mutual trust, not in a situation where we can be dictated upon.
Mr. Goyal, the government, Modi government is now halfway into its term. Any regrets when you look back at these 2.5 years, and what do you see as your main challenges for the rest of the term?
Well, every single day we get up with a lot of regrets, a lot of things where we feel we could have done much more. And I think the day we stop regretting or the day we feel we've done enough, we'll be finished. There'll be no future for us or for the country. So I think aspiring for more, aspiring to deliver more, being unsatisfied with whatever has happened should be the credo of any good leader, should be the way any good organization should be led. And there are a lot of business persons and persons from different walks of life. I'm sure each one aspires to do more and better and is not satisfied with whatever happened till the previous day. A teacher is always unhappy with his students' marks, hopes that he does better and gets better marks. A media house is always unhappy with the circulation, wishes it could be more, the advertising could be more, the quality of editorial could be better. So I think that's the one thing I can assure each one of you. We are a dissatisfied lot in government and we need to do a lot more, and we'll continue to do a lot more. The next 2.5 years are going to be dedicated to giving a big boost to economic activity, industrial activity, growth to manufacturing and creating new jobs in the economy. Is going to be to try and convert India into a digital world so that we can look at a cashless society. Today in Pune, looking at the response I got in my earlier engagements, I have proposed to the people of Pune to make Pune not just a smart city, which it has been selected for, but to make it the smartest city in the world. And I have appealed to all the people, particularly the youth of Pune, that in the next 15 days, mind you, you saw what Mr. Modi did with me. He didn't even give me 90 days to conduct an auction of that dimension. I'm only asking for a small return gift for my visit to Pune. 15 days, we can make every merchant establishment in Pune digitally connected. We can ensure that every Punekar is connected in any form that he chooses. It could be a debit credit card. It could be a payment gateway through the mobile wallets. It could be through the universal payment interface, UPI or USSD. It could be SBI Buddy. It could be Paytm. It could be MobiKwik. It could be anybody. But if we can make Pune 100%, or as I said, it's a goal one aspires for. Cashless is a goal one is aspiring for. If every citizen of Pune and every merchant and businessman of Pune gets digitally connected and makes all payments, and we make Pune a cashless city, we will create history. We'll be the first city in the world to go cashless. Let's go for it.
So we'll do a quick rapid fire and then we'll open up to the audience.
Thank you.
So I'm going to give you two options. You've got to pick one. Sonia Gandhi or Indira Gandhi?
Rahul Gandhi.
My next question was Rahul or Priyanka, but...
No. I wish him well, and I hope he continues to serve the people of India and continues to lead the Congress party for many, 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 many more years.
If you were Prashant Kishore, what advice would you give Sonia Gandhi?
I mean, that's the worst compliment you could have given me. I'll have to think twice before coming to your program again, Anand. But maybe not as Prashant Kishore, but if I was to give advice to Sonia Gandhi ji, I would say don't hire Prashant Kishore. He's a very costly loser.
GST or demonetization?
Now my personal views and my my official views.
I can't even offer off the record here, so.
Demonetization.
Most inspiring political leader in India?
But I've given you my personal view, by the way.
Fair. Most inspiring political leader in India?
But if you want to go into history also and look at a wider canvas, while Prime Minister Modi today has his charismatic personality and is leading from the front and has done a fantastic job, I think the fact that He's inspired by Pandit Deendayal Upadhyay, the ideologue of the Bharatiya Janasangh and now the BJP. The fact that he's following that path of Pandit Deendayal Upadhyay, the path of Antyodaya, where the right on the nation's resources are of the poorest of the poor first, is our philosophy. And as a student of that philosophy, as a practicer of the Pandit Deendayal Upadhyay's ideology, I think Prime Minister Modi has done great justice to Pandit Deendayal Upadhyay, who was one of our founders of the Janasangh. And I'm sure he must be a proud man up there for a student, a disciple like Narendra Modi in implementing his vision.
Most inspiring political leader outside of India?
You know my views on that. I think Angela Merkel today is clearly a leader who has shown tremendous grit and ability amongst the foreign leaders. If one was to go into history, it could be a toss-up between Lee Kuan Yew and Margaret Thatcher.
Delhi or Mumbai?
India needs some more lady leaders like Margaret Thatcher or Angela Merkel. Anyway, sorry.
Delhi or Bombay?
I think Mumbai.
Okay. Last one. You're stuck on an island. You have to pick one companion. Rules are he has to be an MP. He or she has to be an MP. And he or she can't be from your party.
My God, that's terrible. That's a tough one. Any particular kind of person?
Anybody you would call a politician who's in parliament, you would call a friend, who's not, on your team, so to say. Or you would say is good company to be with.
Jesus. I have a lot of friends in all the political parties, including the Congress. And picking up a name with the media here is something,
Okay.
YPO event asking me that is a different question.
I have taken
My
these
problem
questions.
is I can take Jay Panda's name, I can take Bhatruhari Matab's name, I can even take the name of friends in the Congress benches like Jyotiraditya Scindia or Dipinder Hooda. I can take a name of communist members of parliament.
Yeah.
Who are fantastic MPs, save and accept some very funny Derekonomics that I heard day before yesterday. Even Derek O'Brien is a nice guy. So Supriya Sule, your Pune person, my colleagues in almost every political party, they are good friends, they are good leaders. But to pick one would be very, very embarrassing for me.
Any questions in the audience? Yeah. Please introduce yourself. Yeah.
Good evening, Mr. Goyal. This is Vinod Baheti from Yes Bank, Mumbai headquarters. It's always fun, enjoyable, and enriching to hear you, sir. My particular question is related to your two favorite subjects. One is solar power, and again, demonetization. I think it will be covered both. As you would know, sir, like Yes Bank has been into forefront in terms of financing.
Just stick to the question, please.
Solar industry, especially by raising these 3 green bonds. Question was that in terms of the cost of financing of solar, which is one is the interest rate and second is the import component. A lot of it is like 70% is import. And now currency being at almost beyond 68 rupees, all-time low almost, the industry is impacted. So question to you is, sir, can we expect some radical cuts in the interest rate? And also in terms of the hedging solutions, I mean, if you remember, like World Bank CFO had come a couple of months back and he said that we are all keen to sort of finance this sector. But the key point is the hedging solutions to be provided to this sector. So can we address these 2 points so that the cost of financing and in turn the cost of production comes down?
Well, very clearly, Indian cost of interest has to come down, must come down. Inflation is quite low now, and I do hope the Monetary Policy Authority will take note of the changing times. But that's in the domain of RBI to decide. As far as we are concerned, we've come up with proposals through REC and PFC to bring down the rate of interest for renewable energy. Yes Bank has done some wonderful work raising these green bonds and encouraging renewable energy in our larger fight against pollution and against detrimental effects of carbon. I agree with you, we could look at hedging solutions. Actually, I've worked a lot. I must have done 50 spreadsheets to see if I could have dollar tariffs or partly dollar-based tariffs or hedge it through a self-hedging mechanism. But just the sheer economies of scale, the numbers, the large scale at which solar rollout has happened under Prime Minister Modi, and the fact that we've completely eliminated corruption from the system. Earlier there was a feed-in tariff, and I don't know what used to happen, but whatever. We've done everything, all solar projects through reverse bidding, where competition is intense. And thanks to that, the price has fallen by about 45% in the last 1.5 years. So every time I plan to do a hedging mechanism or a solar support mechanism, the price falls further as it is. So I think that now I don't need to do it. Price has become quite competitive. But I think maybe now it's at about 4.5, 5 rupees. I could look at that if it comes down below 4 rupees tariff for solar power. I'll maybe do one more round with within my ministry. And your other question was related to? Okay. The demonetization, you didn't ask anything.
Can we get a mic here in the front, please? Yeah. Yes, please. Can we get a mic to Dr. Mashalkar?
It's been fascinating, Piyushji. Just wanted to tell you in one line that when Pune International Center did Pune as a smart city, we said Pune as a smarter city, by the way. We are already smart. We will be smartest. Just wanted to tell you.
Wonderful.
The second point is, last year you were the chief guest for Earth Care Awards. This year I was, exactly 12 months. And last year you had said, I mean, you quoting the price of LED, that you will bring it down, and you had given a number, and you had done it. That's terrific. My question is about the speed, scale, and sustainability. That's what the country needs. You did it with speed, there's no question, 12 months. 17 crore, 98 lakh, 97,859 as of 1 minute ago. So no issue. That's terrific. Other thing that you have done, like Jan Dhan Yojana and JAM and even this demonetization, are, as a student of innovation, I would say, not incremental, but disruptive, game-changing solutions. And that's what the country needs. From your own personal experience, what is the challenge in doing these game-changing, disruptive innovations in India?
Sir, the challenge is changing the mindsets of 1 billion people. Now look, we brought in this demonetization, and already we are hearing stories about how people are trying to game the system. So you're hearing stories of some people going to their villages, trying to fool the local villagers by saying you deposit 2.5 lakh rupees and I'll give you 25,000 and take back the balance. I've heard some companies are giving 6-month advance salaries and saying we'll adjust it gradually. I'm told a lot of people would bring truckloads of people or busloads of people, make them stand in a queue. And much as we wanted an exchange facility to run all the way through till 30th December, we first had to reduce it and then stop it because of the misuse. I think it's a mindset issue. Thoda samay lagega habits badalne ke liye. But we want to go for it. We want to try and make a push for it. We want to make an effort that Indians change the way. You know, I was in a program in Delhi about 4 days ago, where after I was speaking, I spoke a lot about digital payments there also. And I was trying to encourage people that go digital, it's good for the whole system. So after a long conversation, a lot of questions, a gentleman got up and he said, but sir, if I do digital transactions, और मैं 10 लाख रुपए का खर्चा करूंगा, तो मेरी इनकम तो सिर्फ 5 लाख रुपए है, तो बाकी 5 लाख मेरा कैपिटल वाइप आउट हो जाएगा. तो I was thinking to myself, I spent an hour and a half, और तब से भाषण दे के गला बैठ गया है. But after that, he could ask the question कि मैं डिजिटल करूंगा तो मेरा नंबर 2 का पैसा नहीं लगेगा, मेरा कैपिटल वाइप आउट. थोड़ा समय लगेगा ये चेंज होने में. But I'll appeal to the people of Pune, you lead the way. You show the world that we can do it. We can change mindsets, we can change habits, and on a lighter vein, the most honorable former Prime Minister quoted John Keynes in the Parliament and said that this government is saying short-run gain, long-term pain. In the long term, all of us are dead. I don't think we needed John Keynes to tell us that. All of us sitting here knows that in the long run, all of us are going to die. The Gita tells us that. The Bible tells us that. The Quran tells us that. We don't need to hear it from John Keynes. But John Keynes certainly also said that when things change, I change. Do you? And I think that's what we are appealing to the people of India. Things are changing. हमारा भारत बदल रहा है. आप उस बदलाव के साथ जुड़िए. आप उस बदलते हुए युग में एक अच्छा जीवन बीते जिससे अगली पीढ़ी को हम विरासत में एक ईमानदार देश, एक अच्छी व्यवस्था, एक व्यवस्था जिसमें चोरी डकैती के बदले सब ईमानदारी से व्यापार करें, सबको सामान्य अवसर मिले एक अच्छे जीवन बिताने का. इस प्रकार के बदले हुए देश की कल्पना है मोदी जी की. उस बदलाव के साथ हम पूरे देश को जोड़ना चाहते हैं.
मिस्टर गोयल, ये जो चेंज आप बात कर रहे हैं, तो sometimes it seems that whenever questions are asked or criticism is made, तो उसमें फिर government's response is that these questions are coming from the corrupt or the unpatriotic. So is it not also part of the generosity of being in government that you have to somehow take on board everybody who's a stakeholder in that change?
Madam, it's like this.
Including the opposition.
Of course, and the media. Look, constructive criticism or criticism when I make a mistake is something I value, my Prime Minister values, my government values. All of us value. हम गलती करते हैं, हम माफ़ी भी मांगेंगे, जनता के समक्ष भी आएंगे और जनता से जो दंड मिलेगा वो दंड भी बहुत खुशी से स्वीकार करेंगे. लेकिन अगर कोई जर्नलिस्ट जाके आपके मुंह में जाके बोले कि आपको बहुत तकलीफ हो रही है ना, आपकी तो शादी बर्बाद हो गई ना, आपके यहाँ तो खाने के लाले लग गए ना, आपका तो खेत खराब हो गया ना, और प्रॉम्प्टेड और मोटिवेटेड डायलॉग ढूंढे, और अगर 100 लोग समर्थन करें और एक ने विरोध कर दिया तो उस एक को ही बार बार सुबह से रात तक दिखाए, और जो एक देश का मनोबल बनाए, जो देश का संकल्प बनाए कि हमें बदलाव लाना है, उसको झूठे तरीके से प्रेजेंट करे, तो जरूर हम ऑब्जेक्ट करेंगे. अगर कोई विपक्ष का नेता हाउस में खड़ा होकर बोले लेकिन ये आपने क्यों इमीडिएटली किया, आपने 8 तारीख को अनाउंस करके 7 दिन देने चाहिए थे. Now if somebody is going to suggest and criticize me for having done it as a shock therapy and demand that I should have given 7 days for them to clean up their affairs, then certainly we are going to ask them a question कि आप भ्रष्टाचार, काले धन और आतंकवाद के साथ खड़े हो या साफ करने की एक जो योजना आई है उसके साथ खड़े हो.
Hello. Sir, I am concerned about your throat. First of all, I'll recommend if you have not already had Vaithya from homeopathy, please take it. Because that is for those people who have to speak too much and too often.
And don't even get paid for it enough.
Yeah. Yes, and the question is, there are some states which have done a wonderful job for the ease of business, ease of doing business. That only some states have done it. I would like you to please spell out what have you done, besides of course GST, to make the ease of business universal in this country.
Well, I think that's
because that is what will bring the prosperity.
Absolutely. I fully agree with you. And in our fight against corruption or black money, I think ease of doing business is going to be an integral element. Transparency is going to be an equally important element. And debureaucratization is going to be an equally important element. I think the approach of the government in the center has been that in all the activities under our charge, we are trying to ensure that everything is carried out in the most transparent manner that we can, point one, is policy and process driven and not individual driven. We do root cause analysis and prioritize what needs to be done first and what will be the sequence in which issues will be sorted out. After all, that's how we made India a coal and power surplus state in barely 1.5 years, something we've not been able to do in 70 years. It didn't happen like a magic wand, it's just that we set things right at the root cause. But one can never feel satisfied that it's enough. We need to continue to do more. Bring in better elements of transparency. Ensure that everybody gets equal opportunity. We need to ensure that, for instance, tax officers don't have discretionary powers. Everything is spelled out in black and white. The real estate regulation bill is one step in that direction, because that's been an area of concern for all of us in the country. Different aspects of doing business we are trying to address, but we are looking for ideas and suggestions. I would appeal to all of you, please write in to us, please mail us more suggestions how we can do it better.
If I just take one quick question. Yeah, okay. Sure. Sorry.
Great to see you here. I just have one very simple question, that we're talking about manufacturing, make in India. Power consumption in India is going to go up quite substantially. Power generation obviously will have to keep pace. But the rate of power in certain states like Maharashtra has not kept pace with the reduction that one should see overall, and that you're seeing in other states. So what advice would you give us, or how do we engage with the government in getting this done? Because a lot of the CERC regulations are also not being followed in Maharashtra, as regarding open access, etc.
Okay, let me have a conversation with my Chief Minister and see how we can address that. But I agree with you, we want to give a boost to Make in India. And I have been suggesting to different states, some have already come out with new tariffs to encourage new industry and new manufacturing. So Punjab has come out with a 4.99 rupee tariff for any new consumer of electricity who brings in jobs and brings in manufacturing in that state. I will urge the Honorable Chief Minister of Maharashtra to consider that. Today, India has the ability to expand its power generation by 50% tomorrow. If tomorrow all of you want 50% more power, we have enough ability in India to generate that. And the plans that we already have on the table will help us to double our power generation by 2020-22. So there is enough power. Power cost has come down significantly through coal rationalization, through better quality of coal being mined, through more efficiency in the transmission grid and network, through expanded generation of renewable energy at lower costs, and of course through transparency and honesty. You can actually know the costs of power in the exchange right now through a mobile app. Any of you can download it. It's called Vidyut Pravah, and that app tells you at any point of time, 24/7, Vidyut Pravah, VIDYUT PRAVAH. You can download it for free. And as of 6:30 to 6:45, and that tells me I must leave for my flight also. In this window, right now, power is available at an average price of 1.94 per unit around the country for state discoms to purchase and give you. And actually, I'm glad to also share with you that at this point of time, as we speak, power is available at 1 rupee 85 paisa anywhere in the country, from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, from Kamrup to Kutch. Across the nation at 1 rupee 85 paisa, there is enough transmission. There is on offer in the exchange 4,894 megawatt available on the exchange right now at this moment for people to buy. So we are trying to bring in this level of transparency where the people of India can start demanding from governments, whether in the state or local or at the center, to now deliver cheaper power, to deliver 24/7 uninterrupted power. So on our end, we are trying to achieve this. I hope all of you participate with us in demanding better service from different states and local bodies.
Two more, three more.
Throat is gone, but yeah.
Last one? Okay, we take a last question.
I'm from ILA Foundation in Pune. When the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy is promoting power, and now we know what is the cost of power and how cheap it is becoming. but there is no single policy from the government as to where the solar power plants have to be actually placed, where the windmills have to be placed, because we are getting into habitats. And we can count the energy bills in terms of money, but what the previous government has done is there has been no policy about any types of habitat assessments before we get into where the power stations are going to be, because we have lost the great Indian bustard, because we say that it is a wasteland. We got almost losing the lesser florican because that is a wasteland. That is number one. And the second question was, if we understand that the government really thought beforehand, before withdrawing the currency, how come there are typographical and grammatical mistakes in the new currency notes?
No, I'm sorry, that's a WhatsApp message that's circulating.
No, it's there.
And I appeal to you that don't get carried away by WhatsApp messages. That 2,000 rupee note that is being quoted has it in Konkani and in Marathi. And Hindi is at the top. I don't have a 2,000 rupee note. If anybody has it, I can show it to you just now. That it is in Marathi and Konkani. And if you look at the old 1,000 or 100 rupee note also, on the left-hand side, it was never there in Hindi. It is always, any note if you have.
I only have 500.
It's 200 rupaye.
So, yeah, 200 rupaye. And the second language is 2,000 rupaye and 2,000 rupaya. These are both languages which are not Hindi. Yes. It is Konkani and Marathi.
Oh, that's
and
nice.
Hindi is written at the top. 2,000 rupaye.
Excellent.
2,000.
We are very happy.
One. And point two, since you have raised the issue, let me also clarify. Some of you also is getting to hear some opposition leaders in parliament allege that the color is coming out, right? And Anand Sharma ji, a senior leader, tried to say that if the color comes out, you are saying it's genuine. And if it doesn't come out, it's fake. And he made a joke out of it. I am repeating it on Adda. If the color comes out, it's genuine. If it doesn't come out, it's a fake. And this is not true about our 2,000 rupee note. It's true about a 100 rupee note, which has been printed for years and years. It's true about a dollar note. It's true about a pound note or a euro note. And I'll explain the reason to you. This 2,000 rupee or Reserve Bank of India is printed in an embossed intaglio ink. And that intaglio ink, if you take a white paper or cloth and rub it, that embossing comes out onto that white paper or cotton. That's the sign that it's a genuine note. That intaglio ink has been used on it. If it doesn't come out, it means intaglio, which is a security feature, has not been used on it and it's a fake note. So it's sad. I don't know how they ran government for 10 years. God save this country.
A quick comment from Mr. Poonawalla.
Mr. Goel.
Just Mr. Poonawalla,
Goel.
Yeah, okay.
I'm Zaware Poonawalla. And a question on power. As you say, there's a lot of power in the country. For me, it's a dream when I see a lot of power. Because we've got generators galore. We've got, apart from my other businesses, I've got a stud farm just across over here, 20 miles away. And we are continuously buying diesel because there's no power available to us. At least maybe 6 to 8 or 10 hours a day, it's cut off all the time.
See, one reason why a lot of areas are facing power cut, at least in a state like Maharashtra, other places could have other reasons, is that the local bill collection is not complete. So I have in fact advised states that whichever circle or region you don't get paid fully, there's power theft, not about your company, in the region. If there's power theft, if there's any such problem, reduce the power supply. Right. Give power progressively more to those areas which pay their bills and don't have power theft. In fact, this is an experiment which was started by Maharashtra successfully. At one time, there were areas where if this is the national highway, on the left of it, there was no power. On the right of it, it was 24 hours. because the people on the left were not paying their bill. Our expectation is that we can increase the power to 24 hours as we get the power theft coming down, people start paying their bills fully. Not to speak about your company, sir, but if you write to me, I can get it investigated if there's any other reason, any technical or transmission reason.
Last question.
We can sort it out. As long as the bills are being paid in that area, you should get 24 hours.
Piyushji, thank you so much for a very power-packed Adda with us.